Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Edwin, the Comic Jabroni, coming at you with another video. Is this week's local comic shop New Comic Book Wednesday pickup haul. Yesterday was September 5th. Went by my local comic shop, went to my subscription box, picked up a few books, also went by the wall and grabbed a couple that I hadn't pulled on my subscription. It was a nice week. I thought it was going to be a lighter week, but it was not. There were a lot of books that I ended up picking up, and some throughout the week that I had seen online that people were talking about, so I decided, hey, I'm going to pick them up too. They look pretty good. As always, showcasing two of my graded CGC books. I got Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe #1 at a 9.2, and Deadpool Kills Marvel Universe #2. That one's the 9.8. It's the only one out of the set of 4 that I had that came back as a 9.8. Great series. If you guys haven't read that, I picked this up quite a few years ago and decided to get them graded because I just love those covers. I actually love that story. You know, right after this, they started doing Deadpool versus and Deadpool kills, and this really started it off. And this story is great. Really shows you what Deadpool can do when he really sets his mind to it, and he's not as insane as the comics really put him out to be. If you have not read it, I would definitely, these can be a little expensive if you try to go find them, but definitely go get the trade and read it that way. So anyways, let's start off with the independents this week. There's one Titan Comics. I'm not usually a guy that picks up Titan Comics, but everybody was talking about this book, Elric the White Wolf. This is the B cover. Awesome looking cover. I love that cover. The A cover, when I first saw the A cover, I was kind of intrigued, and I'm gonna put it up here because you can see on his on the sword or on his hand that kind of looks like the dragon symbol from Iron Fist. So I wasn't sure if this is gonna connect with Iron Fist somehow. I know it's Titan Comics, but this story, Elric the White Wolf, is a character from way back, way back, 1940s or 1950s, I believe. His first appearance is actually in Conan the Barbarian 14, first comic book appearance. But this one just follows pretty much the story after he leaves the Dragon Isle. It's if you're into, I'd say, Game of Thrones or any of those type of like sci-fi fantasy type of shows, you'll really dig this. And I love this cover. This B cover is the one that everybody's been talking about online, so I definitely had to go grab it. I'm glad my comic shop got this. As far as the story and the art, dude, this, I couldn't find any reviews online really, but I would give this a 9, 8.5 to a 9.0. Love the art, love the story. I put it on my pull list. I told my comic shop that I wanted it in my sub box, so every month I should. Hopefully they keep going with this book, but I'm definitely keeping up with this one. Next one I picked up, one that I've been talking about for a long time, well, at least the last 6 months, because it comes out every month. This is The Dead Hand. This is an Image book. What I didn't know about this was, I guess it was just a 6-part mini series. This concludes the Dead Hand story online, and like I said, every week I give you the reviews from a website called Comic Book Roundup. On Comic Book Roundup, they have reviews from different websites, and they kind of put them together and give you just an average of what those are, plus user reviews. So people like you and I go on there and we can review the book ourselves. So there were only 2 online reviews for this, and they gave it a 7.5. There were no user reviews yet, but for me, I'm definitely in the 7.5 to 8.0. Like I told you, I love this Cold War, Soviet spy versus US story. This concludes the story. Now, at the end, it does show you that this was volume 1, so I'm kind of hoping that there is a volume 2. They continue on with this Dead Hand. I don't know how they'd be able to do it, but there's so many stories out there for you to tell with U.S. Soviets, U.S. versus Soviet spies and stuff of that nature. If I were you, I would definitely go grab this. It's an awesome story. Love this cover too. That's such a badass cover. Actually, all the Dead Hand covers have been awesome. That's it for independents this week. Let's move on to Marvel. First book from Marvel is going to be Immortal Hulk #5. This is the variant. I know last week I talked about that I was going to pick up the Alex Ross cover. But when I got there and I looked at the Alex Ross and then I saw this variant cover, this is the better cover. Alex Ross is such an amazing artist. But this cover right here, Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider Versus, they've been doing that this week for the variant covers, plus they're doing it next week. This is an awesome cover. Cosmic Ghost Rider coming in from space, crashing into the Hulk. This story online, the online reviews, they gave it 8.8, and the user reviews, there were 9 user reviews, and altogether they gave it 8.9. I'm right there with it. This story just kind of keeps on going with this news reporter trying to find the Hulk, and then Hulk ends up fighting Sasquatch in this, but it ends up not being the guy who was originally Sasquatch. And there's a spoiler. I don't want to spoil it for you. Go ahead and read it. Awesome story. But this Immortal Hulk is definitely staying in my subscription box. Okay, next one we got. This was the big one of the week. Everybody'd been talking about it. Written by Donny Cates. This is Thanos Legacy #1. This continues on from the end of that Thanos series that finished like 3 or 4 months ago. There are 2 different stories on here. Now, there were 7 online reviews, gave it 8.0, and 4 user reviews, gave it 8.2. So this continues on from the Thanos story from a few months ago, but it also adds in a touch of that Infinity Wars that's going on now. Now, if you've been reading Infinity Wars, you know that Requiem, spoiler alert, Requiem, Gamora kills Thanos, cuts his head off. This shows you, how it happened and why it happened and how he kind of let it happen. But it's the second story that I really dug. There's 2 stories, like I said, there's 2. And the second story is young Gamora with Thanos, and Thanos is kind of training her, and he tells her to go down to this planet to kill this guy. And I guess she gets cold feet about it. She goes back up to the ship, and she tells me she didn't do it. So he says, okay, very well. And then he presses his button and kind of like Death Stars the planet, just totally obliterates it. So I think that was the second one, was the one that I dug the most. Thanos, go out and get this. There's kind of a big reveal at the end that Donny Cates had been talking about all week or last 2 weeks. I didn't think it was that big of a deal when I saw it, but again, go get this Thanos Legacy, guys. This is a big one for the week. All right, another Marvel book that I picked up. I talked about it last week. This is that True Believers. This is Daredevil #1. Like I said, with these True Believers, guys, they're only $1. They are first appearance reprints. Many of us can't afford these first appearance books, from way back in the 60s and 70s. So this is a really good way of actually getting that book in your personal collection and at least being able to read it. And a lot of these go up in value. They're not just worth $1. Like I said, Amazing Fantasy 15, that True Believers, that's a $10 to $15 book now. All right. The big one that I picked up for Marvel this week is Avengers #7. And it's not so much because of the story inside, but because of this cover. Now, Avengers, I read it. I like the story. This actually is the telling of the original Ghost Rider's story, right? The Ghost Rider from the Ice Age, that he rides a mammoth and he's actually fighting Wendigo. Cool story. It's a one-shot. I really dig it. I would suggest you go get it because it does tell that story of the original Ghost Rider. Online reviews gave it 8.1. User reviews, there were 8 of them, gave it 8.5. Right there with it, 8.5. Dig the story, love it. I wasn't going to get this book, but I saw this cover. And let me tell you why this cover, I think, is going to be a big one. Because this Spider-Man, this is the Marvel Spider-Man covers, right? The new video game from Sony is coming out Friday. And this is the Spider-Man from that game. This is his first cover appearance. Now you might not think that's a big thing. Spider-Man, we've seen so many Spider-Mans, but It's a new Spider-Man from the video game who will be in the Spider-Geddon story. And this is his first cover appearance. Awesome cover. Kind of reminds me of that Crisis on Infinite Earths, number 7, right? Superman's holding Superwoman. First cover appearance. This is a 1-10 cover variant, so it's not going to be a cover price book, but hopefully you can find it at a decent price. My comic shop, they didn't have it at cover price, but they had it $9.99. So I figure that's a good price to get it, because in a few years, especially if this video game turns out well and that Spider-Geddon, if he turns out to be a big deal in that, his first cover appearance is going to be big. So that's it for Marvel this week. Let's move on to DC. There were a few books for DC. The first one I'm going to show off, this Justice League 7, another Jim Lee cover. If you watched my last video and all my Jim Lee covers, I love these Jim Lee covers. I'm still trying to figure out what other book I want Jim Lee to sign. So this is Justice League 7. This is the B cover variant. So there were a bunch of online reviews. There were 15. Gave it 8.5. And the user reviews gave it a 7.8. There were 11 of them. It's kind of confusing. I love the Justice League story, but it's still kind of confusing with everything that's going on with this totality. And there's a rip in the universe, and they got to close it up. This one, there's kind of a big reveal at the end. Has to do with the Batman Who Laughs, which is one of my favorite characters that came out from last year, with all the different Batman from different universes. So still a good book. The art inside is really nice, and I just love that last page reveal of Batman Who Laughs, who's going to end up helping Lex Luthor. Next up, Adventures of Super Sons, number 2 of that 12-issue maxi series. Online, got an 8.5 from 14 online reviews, and a 7.8 from user reviews. Like I've said, Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin out of the 4, and I like how he's been hanging out with Superboy, and they've been doing this whole Super Sons deal. And this one, they get pulled into space, and yet another big reveal at the end, because there is I believe it's gold kryptonite that has stripped away Superboy's powers, and Damian is trying to figure out how to kind of reverse that, because one of these villains, I'm not gonna spoil that for you. He's actually not a villain. The story is that they come from a different planet where they've been watching. It's like they watch TV, but instead of TV, they're watching the stories that we've read in comic books. But they're watching it as if they were TV shows and superheroes. But these villains, instead of wanting to become the superheroes, they want to be the supervillains. And story goes on from there. Don't want to reveal anything to you, but there's a big thing that happens at the end here. So hopefully they continue on with that story. It's really cool. I love the Super Sons. Adventures of Super Sons, number 2. Next up, we got Deathstroke 35, the B cover. This is Matina. This is the conclusion of that Deathstroke versus Batman, the Maury Povich special. You find out in this issue who actually is the father of Damian Wayne. So I'm not gonna spoil that for you guys. Go out there and pick this up, especially just because this Matina cover. Matina has been wonderful on these. He's been awesome. These covers have been great. Got an 8.6 from online reviews. Got a 7.8 from user reviews. I don't understand why I'm in that 8.5 to 9.0. There's an awesome fight that started from last issue that continued on into this issue. There's that reveal of who actually is Damian Wayne's father. Great story. Deathstroke. This is the conclusion, like I said. Right, next up, we got this United States versus Murder Inc. number 1. This is from Brian Michael Bendis's like Jinx World. This is kind of is under the umbrella of DC, a publishing company. Online got an 8.2, and from there's one user review got an 8.0. I'm 8.0 to 8.5. Artwork's okay. Story's awesome though, and it just follows a little girl whose family is kind of like mafia enforcers, and she's kind of getting into the same business. I'll definitely be picking up more of these. There were a bunch of them that came out this week. I think it was cover number 1, This US versus Murder Inc. And there was one more that came out from this Jinx World brand. And these are just stories that I think Bendis has wanted to put out for so long, but maybe Marvel didn't let him. So now that's maybe how DC got him to come over. And they said, hey, come over, write for us. We'll also let you do what you want with those stories that you have. I was going to pick up the A cover, but for some reason I saw a lot of talk about this B cover. I don't get it. I know it looks like it's supposed to be somebody's face with the tie. He's holding a gun, and maybe this is his pocket square. I don't get it. A lot of talk online. It's going to be a really hard cover to get in a high grade. I tried to find the best one I could, and I don't see any dings or anything like that. So I'll be keeping this in I'll be keeping this in a harder cover plastic. All right, last one from DC for the week. Got Batman 54. This is the A cover. Like I told you last week, I think it's Tim, can't remember the name. I'm gonna write it down at the bottom. But he did the B cover on it. I wasn't digging it, so I went and got the A cover. I like this cover. This one's kind of just a one shot. A lot of flack online. Got a 7.9 from online reviews and a 6.1 from 26 different users. I dig it. This is a one shot, right? So it goes from the past into the present, and it just talks about it. It follows up with what happened with Dick Grayson after his parents were murdered, and how Bruce Wayne took him under his wing. And then it jumps into the present where Batman was stood up at the altar, and how Dick Grayson is there trying to comfort him and tell him, hey, it's okay, this happens, you can talk to me about it. So I really liked it. It's a Batman book. I'm gonna always pick up Batman books. Tom King's writing gets a lot of flack online. I don't mind it. I like it. If you're a Batman fan, you'll definitely want to go and pick this book up. So that's it for the books that I picked up this week. Let's talk about books for next week, guys. Not too many of them. We'll start off Marvel. There's only really one new book that's coming out next week that I want to get. It's at X-23 number 4. Biggest reason I want to get this, guys, is that's a Mike Choi. I believe that's how you say his name. That's Mike Choi cover art. He is a local artist here in San Antonio. Actually lives here close to the area that I live at. He goes to the local comic shop that I go to and does signings there all the time. So I want to support my local artists. I follow him on Instagram. Go follow him, guys. Mike Choi. Great art. I'm hoping to get this book and maybe get him to sign it at some point when he shows up to the local comic shop. Moving on to DC, I got 4 books here. 2 of them for sure I'm going to pick up. The other 2 I want to show off because of the art. First one's Detective Comics 988. That's a Mark Brooks cover. Like you guys have known, out of the 2, Detective Comics and Batman, I think Detective has really been the superior Batman book to pick up, and the cover art has been much better. The next one, Red Hood and the Outlaws 26. Now this, I just saw this cover this morning, and this is a Yasmin Putri, I believe that's how you say her name. That's a cover art, and that's an awesome cover, guys. Definitely picking that up. And this is actually a spec book because I think it's the first Red Hood is changing his costume or whatever he's wearing, so this is going to be that first appearance of that new costume. The other two that I wanted to show off just for the cover art, not exactly sure if I'm going to be picking them up. Catwoman 3 comes out next week. That's an Art Germ cover. That's a super dope cover, guys. Really nice. Art Germ, as you guys know, Art Germ has some nice cover art. And then the next one's going to be Wonder Woman 54. That's Jenny Frison. Really nice. Love the fire on that, on those swords that she has. Now, Jenny Frison has been doing a lot of really nice covers on Wonder Woman. The last two have not been my favorite. I didn't get them, but this one, if I see it there at the store, I might end up having to pick that one up. There's also two True Believers that are coming out, back to Marvel. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, True Believers. Like I said, dollar book, guys. Can't pass that up. And like I did last week, I have one spec book. Do a little speculation for you. Now, this one's not a big one. This is, you can probably still go find this in your comic shop for $1 or $2. It is a Batman book, so it might be a little bit more expensive. But this is Batman and Robin Eternal, number 26. Now, what's so big about this, guys? This is the first appearance of Cassandra Cain as Orphan. This is not her first appearance. Her first appearance was in Batman. I can't remember. I'll write it down at the bottom. But this is her first appearance as Orphan, right? So Cassandra Cain is a character that becomes Batgirl. Now, if they ever use this character in a movie, they ever bring her in, it's going, I believe, and I saw this online, so I don't really want to steal this idea, but I believe it's going to be as Orphan and not as Batgirl, because Batgirl is going to obviously be Barbara Gordon. That'll always be Barbara Gordon. But if they bring another character in, right, such as Cassandra Cain, they'll use this. I believe they'll use this moniker for her in the movie. So Orphan. This is her first appearance as Orphan. Batman and Robin Eternal. Just a really light spec, guys. Sometimes it doesn't take much, and a book will blow up. People will go looking for it. So Batman and Robin Eternal, 26. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If this is your first time watching my videos, like I always say, go check my other videos out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you'll know when I'm dropping new videos every week. I'm dropping at least one video a week. Here recently, I've been dropping 2 to 3 a week. Give me a like and write me a comment. Let me know what you picked up this week. Let me know what's out there that's hot for next week, and I'll definitely be checking it out. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot. See you next time. Peace.